Hello, my name is Elina Pelikan, and welcome back to my scriptorium. Today we are going to talk about the most ancient medium that is used to work on icons, egg tempera. Egg tempera is really unlike anything I have ever worked with before. The way that we work with egg and natural materials and mix them together, the way the transparent layers all mesh together, it's something that most people don't get to do. I'm going to show you an icon that I'm working on with egg tempera, and then I'm going to show you how you can work on it at home. But first, let's get to painting. Today I'm working on this icon of the Theotokos. This is done in traditional egg tempera, and as you can see, I'm still working on it. It's for a personal collection, and because of where it's at, I chose this board that's rounded. These boards are very special. They're made on hardwood, and they are layered with rabbit skin glue and linen, and then layers and layers of this chalk paint called gesso that is sanded down to fine, smooth perfection. This is a small board that is prepared similarly. It has this raised edge that symbolizes heaven and earth. As you can see, this one, since it's larger, has these supports in the back to stop it from warping. I have already made my egg emulsion. I'll show you how to make your own later. With egg and vinegar. You can also use wine. I'm going to mix a little bit of ochre. These are the pigments I use. They're beautiful ground pigments. I have something else you can use at home since you probably don't have any of these, and some of them, like this, are actually very toxic. This is cadmium red, not something you want to get on your skin or in your clothing. This is white. I'm going to use ochre. Ochre, if you remember, is one of the main colors that we use on skin in icons. It is this very fine powder. I'm going to mix a little bit of my egg emulsion with a little bit of my powder. I want to make sure it's mixed in very smoothly and it has plenty of opacity, but it's not too thick. We use many, many layers of these thin emulsions. I've already done my sunk here and placed my lines, as you've seen me do in other episodes, and now I'm going to do our first light. In order to do that, I'm going to use this thin brush. I'm going to get my brush a little bit damp, and I'm going to use just a bit. Doesn't take much. As you can see, the process is very slow and it takes a lot of time, a lot of patience. But would you like to try to use egg tempera at home? To make your own egg tempera at home, you're going to need an egg, a little bit of vinegar, white vinegar. You'll need a bowl. This works pretty well in a sink. You'll definitely need some water and a napkin. I'm just using this teapot here for some water. And you're going to need something to use as powder. If you have any colored chalks or chalk pastels, these will work well, and I'll show you how to turn them into a powder next. But first, let's make the egg emulsion. This is part of the magic of egg tempera, and why we call it egg tempera. We take the egg, and we break the egg into our bowl. You can also do this over a sink. The goal is to separate out the egg yolk with none of the egg white. This is where the napkins come in. What we're going to do is pour a little bit of water, not directly onto it. We want to rinse off all of the egg white. The egg yolk is chemically different than the egg white, so that's what's going to make it last long. Egg tempera lasts for hundreds, if not thousands of years. This is an ancient form of art medium. I'm rinsing off the whole egg yolk. Then we're going to dry it off. We're going to place it onto this napkin right here. This is where it gets fun. I'm going to take my container going to make sure I have it ready. With dry fingers, I'm going to pinch it right over there. I will take my scissors or anything pokey and whoop, goes right in there. Notice that the casing around the egg yolk didn't make it into there. That's pretty fun, isn't it? If it doesn't come off just like that, it's okay, so long as you just get the egg yolk into the bowl. Now, we're going to add about as much water as egg. That's about right. It doesn't have to be perfect. Then we're going to add a little bit of our vinegar. This is to keep the mixture from rotting before it dries, because as we know, eggs can do that. When we take our brush, we're going to mix in the emulsion. An emulsion is just a mix. It is what binds the pigment to our board. But today, we're going to use paper. You can use regular paper. I have some watercolor paper here. And chalk pastels. These, I believe, are from just your standard store. You can use any kind you want. You could even use regular chalk. And what we're going to do is just this. I'm going to pick one of the colors, and I'm going to take my scissors. You can use any kind of scissors. I've got these little sewing ones. They work quite well. And I'm just going to scrape off a small amount of the powder. Just like that. I'm going to do that with a couple different colors. You'll need some water for rinsing. And we're going to do this very simply. I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to dip it in my egg emulsion. And I'm going to mix it in with the powder. Takes a little bit of mixing. You might decide you need a little bit more egg, but I think I've got about the right amount. Until it's a nice liquid. Now, let's do some painting. Painting is a skill that you develop with time and practice. So, we're going to practice these thin, dynamic lines. You can watch as I move the brush slowly across, and I'm going to press, and I'm going to lift. Add a little bit more water. I'm going to do that again. Across, press, and lift. These lines, almost always what we use in iconography. We use these for our lines, for our highlights. You can curl them around like that, but you want them to go thin, thick, thin. When they start making white spots, that means you need a little bit more paint on your brush. Let's try another color. Egg emulsion. Press, lift, water. The other kind of brushstroke that I would like to talk about today is a blend. In order to do a blend, we want to have a flatter brush. Like this one. I'm going to dip it in my emulsion. Mix up some pretty yellow paint. I'm going to take this paint and I'm going to make a sun I think you can see what I'm making here. But then, I'm going to do something fun. I'm going to rinse my brush. And I'm going to run it along the sides here. I'm going to blend. Going back and forth, blending one color to the other, always pulling the brush along. So we have blending and dynamic thin brush strokes. Today we talked about egg tempera, the most traditional iconography medium. I showed you how I work with it with my own projects and how you can work with it yourself at home. I hope you enjoyed that. Don't forget to keep practicing your brush strokes. Remember, painting is a skill that develops with time and practice. Thank you so much for joining me today in my scriptorium. I'll see you next time.